Okay, as promised, I said that if this failed, I would show you, and it did fail. I didn't like it. It didn't work the way I wanted it to, and so we've pulled them back out. We have not really gotten any decent haymaking weather at all, but I did want to see how the damp hay would go up through it, and it did everything it wasn't supposed to do, including this horse shit. What is this about? See, now that's the problem with these things. That gets up in there and it packs them fuckers full. I'm telling you. Anyway, let's see if I can make something to take that out. That is what causes the problem on the needles, is when that shit just keeps feeding up in there like that. Anyway, yeah. So I've chopped them all out. I'm going to show you what I got here. I took them all, I chopped them off. I didn't like it. I know some people had some concern about the welding, whether this was spring steel or not. Well, it may or may not be. It's pretty hard stuff. So here's plan B. Plan B is I'm going to run a piece of steel, flat steel, thin flat steel, up from, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 inches. I'm going to make a ramp like this so that it forces it into these teeth. I watched it. I walked alongside of it yesterday. It packed extremely tight here up to that point where I had the ramps, but when it would force it around where these teeth come out here, it would force it around that, and then it was still grabbing it at the top. It was still doing everything it was not supposed to do by grabbing it at the top. So, yeah. So that's what I'm dealing with, you know? I mean, that's what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with that. So what I need to do is I need to get something to force it into these teeth, these spikes, these stuffer holdbacks, forks, and I think a flat piece of metal that is cut on an angle, or rounded angle. I'd say rounded. I don't know. I was just going to cut it on a straight angle. I think that would work. But I think I'm gonna cut it, and then I'm going to actually round the tip so that it has nothing to catch on. So it's kind of a relief on the back side, and I'll show you how I do that as I go. Here's the piece of steel that I'm going to use. This guy. It doesn't need to be very fat because I really don't want to restrict. I don't want to restrict anything, and I think that bump. So if I run it up on an angle like that, if I cut it on an angle like this, say bring it back 6 inches down, and then cut it on an angle like that, and then cut it on an angle like this. I'm drifting here, and then cut a relief off of there so that there's not a sharp point. I think that maybe, just maybe, that will do it. The other thing, I had an idea, or me and Dad both had the same idea, and that was to put a plunger dog in there, but there's not enough room to weld anything to the piece here. Plunger dog, I would cut a hole through the center here, and then it would come out, but on the back side it would stick up too far, and the stuffer forks would hit it. So this is my idea, this is my plan, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'll cut them about 6 inches, and I'll cut them on that angle, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we go. Did another modification on it since we modified it. Now I got Joseph. I got my light here. See, now I've taken the bolt off so you can see how far into the bail chamber these things go. Now, if you see the space, I don't know if you'll be able to see this space. There is, let me get in here. I'm climbing into the baler. I'm not going to die though. All right, so here's the space. There's 12 inches. If I was to move that all the way back, there's going to be still a gap between here and here of about 4 or 5 inches. You see it? I don't know. Can you see the tip of this here someplace? Where the hell is it? Right there. Tip of that and the end of that blade. We sharpened them so that they cut the hay as it goes up through, preventing major problems of jamming it up. I don't think it will. But I decided to cut an inch more off, so it's only 3 inches into the chamber. I think that's going to solve my problem. I really do. I think it's going to solve the problem. So hopefully problem solved. If it isn't, well, then it's back to the drawing board. But I like the way it looks in there. It's right at the top. It's perfect. So that'll throw that into those spikes that stick out here, the holdback fingers. Throw it into them. Hopefully bunches it up and keeps it from feeding up through the bottom. Because normally these are not up. I have these up. These are your stuffers. Normally these are tucked safely down at the bottom, and then you have this huge 8 inches of hay space for the hay to go right straight up into the bale chamber, and it just feeds the bottom and feeds the bottom and feeds the bottom, which is not helping anything. It's not helping anything at all. So if I do this and it works, great. If I do this and it doesn't work, well, that's just another problem that I'm going to have to deal with. I do have another issue that I'm going to attempt to work on here with right there. It's going to be right there. I'll talk about that later, but let's get this job done. Now that's how it's supposed to work. She's working up top. What you want to see is the plunger dogs bouncing wherever the hell they're at. And they are. Excellent. It's actually working. Try to get this thing to fill properly. Faster, faster. Fucking go. It's working. It's working. I'd like to see it make a knot without pulling shit up in there, though. That works. Okay.
up his face.